Hey everyone and welcome back to my video. I know it's been a long time जब से मैंने video upload नहीं किया है because I'm a very lazy person and I procrastinate it a lot. So coming on to today's video, today I have brought up this text called Abhijnanasakuntalam, which has been written by renowned poet Kalidasa. It is one of the very important texts of Sanskrit literature. And this particular play is basically the dramatic adaptation of Shakuntala, which is a poem mentioned in Adi Parv in the great epic Mahabharata. Now you can analyze this particular text from different perspective, but I'm going to analyze it from the feminist lens. I will tell you that how this particular text shows that women have been objectified always. They have been either treated as a movable property or their worth have been limited to gratify male sexual pleasure. Coming on to the title of this particular play, which is Abhijnanasakuntalam, which means that Shakuntala is remembered by a token. Let's talk about the summary of this particular play. The male protagonist of the play is King Dushyanta, who is the king of the Hastinapur kingdom, and the female protagonist is Shakuntala, who is the foster child of sage Kanva, living in hermitage in forest. Now one day what happens, King Dushyanta went on hunting and there he decided that he will go into the hermitage. There he saw Shakuntala and he fell in love with her. He got married to her in a secret ceremony and he promised her that he will send for her in palace. But things didn't turn out like this. One day Shakuntala was sitting in her hermitage and she was lost into the thought of King Dushyanta. Sage Durvasa came into the hermitage and she was so much lost into the thought of King Dushyanta that she forgets to attend King Durvasa. As a result, the fragile male ego of Sage Durvasa got hurt and he cursed her that वो जिसके बारे में भी सोच रही होगी, that person will forget. But after being persuaded by Shakuntala's friend named Priyambada and Anusya that please forgive our friend and all that, he says that that person will remember her again if shown a token. And this time the token is the ring which has been given by the King Dushyanta to Shakuntala. Later on in the scene, sage Kanva comes to know that Shakuntala is pregnant with the child of King Dushyanta. So he decides that he will send his daughter to the palace. As a result, he prepares everything and along with two young sage and a lady, she was sent to the palace. Now the scene shifts to the court where king is there and everybody that those two young sage and the lady are trying to convince him that he has married Shakuntala and the child which is there in the womb of Shakuntala, that child belongs to King Dushyanta. But as a result of the curse, King Dushyanta forgets everything and he accused Shakuntala being a characterless woman trying to weave a plot in order to be the part of the royal family. Now at this point of time, what you expect? You expect that at least your people will support you. But in this case, it doesn't happen. And in today's world also, in many cases, it doesn't happen. Those two young sages and ladies says that you have brought dishonor and disgrace to the family. So you either remain here because you cannot go back to your home. Later on, illuminating light appears and Shakuntala got disappeared. Now there comes a scene after many years, like not many years, few years later, where King Dushyanta again goes to another hermitage and there he saw a young brave kid playing with a robust cub, and while interacting with that kid he came to know that he is the child of Shakuntala. Beforehand there was the scene where King Dushyanta got to know about the ring from a fisherman and he got that ring which made him recall all his past memories of Shakuntala. So in the end, when he met Shakuntala in the hermitage again, they got reunited and they lived happily ever after. But that's not it we are going to discuss in today's video. As I have told you that we are going to analyze this particular text where I am going to show you the instances, where a woman have been objectified, where her virginity have been glorified, where a woman has been treated as a property, that something which you can control, or something, on which you can have authority. So I will talk about those dialogues from this particular text. Of course, it will be in translation because I don't know Sanskrit. Talking about the act 1, there comes a scene where King Dushyanta, he thinks that whether she's the real daughter of sage or not. Because in case she is the real daughter, she cannot marry. So when he comes to know that she is not the real daughter of Sage Kanwa and she is the foster child of Sage Kanwa, he says this: what you considered as fire has turned to be a jewel capable of being touched. Means Shakuntala is just like a jewelry now, whom you can touch. There is another dialogue, which his friend Vidusaka says, that when he comes to know, when he comes to know that King Dushyanta has this desire for Shakuntala, he says, this desire of yours is like the fancy of a man fed up with the relish of dates, longing for the fruit of tamarind, leaving aside gems of beauties in your palace. Now here, relish of dates refers to the woman of the palace, that now you are fed up with your queens, so that's why you are moving to the tamarind, fruit of tamarind. I was reading one research paper where it was mentioned that he says, if the body of a hermit girl is more attractive than that of a woman from the harem, then certainly a wild vine exceed indoor plants in terms of beauty. How women have been objectified again and again and talked in terms of an object. In this particular dialogue, there comes a term harem. Now what is harem basically? Harem is the most extreme form of sexual objectification of women. It is a medieval inhuman practice of, excluding women, basically trying to confine women in a secluded place. And this reminds me of a poem of Sarojini Naidu, the Pardanashi, where she talks about a woman under veil who has been secluded from literally everything. Not only from the perverted gaze of men, but also from the sun, also from the wind. She has been secluded to a place where not even sunlight can enter, not even wind can enter. Now you will say that some people might end up saying, this is not problematic. This is problematic. Think about a woman who is not getting sunlight, who is not getting air, who is not getting wind. She is living in a confinement. What kind of life she is living actually? Later on, coming on to the act 2, where, he talks about Shakuntala. So as Shakuntala is a virgin woman, so-called virgin woman, he says, this also comes to my mind that stainless beauty is like a flower, not yet nipped, not yet smelt, a tender twig not yet nipped by nails, a gem not yet perforated, fresh honey not yet tasted. Like the full fruit of meritorious deeds, I do not know whom the Creator will bring here as her enjoyer. I mean, glorifying virginity to that extent, here he says now, that she is a stainless beauty. Why stainless beauty? Because she is virgin. If she is not a virgin, she is stained, she is impure. And it is not about, that it was used to be in 4th century AD or, in the old times. No, even in today's time, we are seeing that after marriage, there are rituals glorifying virginity, which should not be there. Because let me ask you, what the fault of a woman who has been raped by a man and lost her virginity? What is the fault of a woman who ended up choosing some other wrong men and then later on she got to know that she has made the wrong decision? So virginity should not be glorified. But to this dialogue, his friend Vidushaka again replied, in that case, Your Majesty should immediately save her. She should not fall into the hands of some hermits whose head is glistening with the application of the oil of Yukundi. I mean, she should not fall into the hands of some hermits. I mean, woman is just like a property, right? She should be into the hands of someone. It could either be, you know, this man or another man, but she should always be in hands. She cannot remain as a free entity. In Act 3rd, again, there is this dialogue where, again we see that there is this glorification of virginity. When the nectar of your lower lip, O fair lady, is drunk by me, thirsting for it, as by the bee, the honey of the fresh and uninjured flower. So when the nectar, uninjured flower, really? A virgin woman, uninjured flower. If you are not virgin, you are an injured flower. And this bee reminds me of something. There is this incident when the king sees Shakuntala for the very first time. There comes a bee in the scene, and Shakuntala was literally frightened or terrified that, oh, someone please save me. Sorry, someone please save me. I'm so sorry. Okay, someone please save me. And this shows that how classical text, and not only classical text, how we have started showing this recurrent theme of damsel in distress, that there would be a woman who would be very pretty, but she would be weak and vulnerable, and she would be required someone in order to save her. I mean, see this character of Shakuntala. She is living in the forest for many years, like since her childhood. And she has been shown a girl who gets frightened after seeing a bee. Is this even logical? Then later on, coming on to the Act 4, when everybody prepares to send Shakuntala to the palace of the king Dushyanta, people started blessing her. And the blessing sounded like this. Child, may you be reckoned as Mahadevi, which is denotative of the respect of your husband. Child, may you deliver a brave son. Dear, be worthy of honor at the hands of your husband. And then later on, Kashyap end up saying that may you beget a son as she did Puru. So we also see that there is this glorification or the preference of male children over female children, that they will carry forward, your legacy. A female child cannot. And even in today's time, we can see this recurrent thing. Yes, things are changing in this particular case, but still it is relevant at many places. Seeing, those underdeveloped places of Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, or South Indian family. And I still remember this one particular case in my own locality, where I visited this particular house, and the auntie ended up saying कि बेटा अगर बेटा हुआ होता तो आपको मिठाई खिलाते. I mean, God, when that girl will grow up and get to hear this, that her own family was making these statements about her, how heartbreaking it would be. Later on, while kind of blessing her own daughter, the sage said, do not act against the husband due to anger despite his insult. No matter whether your husband beat you, no matter whether your husband is not emotionally available for you, no matter whether he disrespects you, you have to suffer every single thing. You have to surrender yourself completely. Why? Because you are a wife, and that so-called respect of the society is actually given into the hands of the woman, and you have to maintain it. Further on, he went on saying, the object called a maiden is of course the property of another. The term property. By sending her to the side of the bridegroom, my soul has become quite clear, as if by restoring a deposit. I mean, your own daughter, you are treating her as a property, that you have sent her to someone else, and now you are relieved that, oh my God, thank you so much. I don't have anything to do now. I can be relaxed. मतलब होता है ना, पीछा छूट गया, जिम्मेदारी हट गई. It's like that, treating it as a property. Coming on to the Act 5, where the court scene where Shakuntala is trying to prove that, she's married to King Dushyanta, but nothing works out. So those two young sage and lady, what kind of remark they made to Shakuntala? Even a chaste woman, means a woman who is pure in your language. Even a chaste woman, possessed of a husband living in the house of her kinsman, is suspected by the people to be otherwise. Therefore, her kinsman wish a young woman to be with her husband, even though he loves her or not. Seriously glorifying a marriage, a not so happy marriage, that you should not walk away from your marriage, even if it is happy or not, no matter why, because society will question that. Because your so-called respect comes into the criteria. Later on, those same people said to the king, "Here is your wife. Desert her or accept." It is admitted that authority over wives are absolute. Woman or a wife is just an object, and you have a complete authority over that particular woman. And it can be clearly seen that a woman, when she is a daughter, she is controlled by her father. Your all decision would be taken by your father. If not father, then your brother will be in the role. That's the notion of patriarchy. And then after your father or brother, your husband will be in the role, will be having an authority over you. And after your husband also, you cannot take, chan ki saans, then your son will be there to control over you. Later on, they made this remark to Shakuntala, when king called her characterless. They says, "Oh Shakuntala, if the king considers you to be such, then you are just that. What has the father to do with you? You have disgraced your family. But if you are sure of your marriage to be pure, then it will be proper for you to be even a servant in the family of your husband." I always thought that marriage is all about equality. There is no superiority, neither the husband nor the wife. But here it can be clearly seen that even if your husband treats you as a slave or a servant, you have to undergo everything. Why? Because you are a woman. It's like this. It works. So these were the certain instances which clearly shows that how an unhappy marriage have been glorified, how virginity have been glorified, how women have been objectified, how women have been treated as a property. I was also going through a research paper where, the one who has written this research paper, she says that her fortune, Shakuntala, her fortitude and acceptance of all injustice as her misfortune without any protest against her husband, Dushyanta, returns her to the traditional characteristics of women. Now, what are the traditional characteristics of a woman? That is, self-annihilation and surrender to the male-built whirlpool of tradition and conservatism. We women have this quality that you have to completely surrender. You cannot dominate. And that is what a patriarchal society looks like, that a woman should be submissive, woman should be, surrendering herself and all this. And then later on, she also concludes by saying that Kalidasa has focused upon her mental strength. Now, no doubt, Shakuntala is mentally very, very strong. That's why she was able to bear all this pain. But mental strength and power, which enables her to face all these adversities, but an important feature related to the reawakening of a consciousness has been neglected. So this was all about Abhijnanasakuntalam. Now, why I'm talking about a particular text written in 4th century AD? Because while I was going through this particular text, people have glorified this text from different perspectives. And I find their perspective to be good. But we should also point out the negative things of particular text, because people do get influenced. Also, I have pointed out these things because no matter we are living in 21st century, still these things are visible. Glorifying virginity, preference of male children, treating women as an object. It's clearly visible in today's world. and we need to talk about these topics in order to bring the change. Now, I would like to say that you might have the different opinion than me about this particular text, and I would love to listen your opinion. You can write down your opinion in the comments, but please be respectful and kindly maintain the decorum. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.